You know what I mean? And that's home, man. And, you know, people know the story, a block away from Biggie. You know what I mean? I grew up a block away from Biggie. So just seeing that, seeing where he took it, and granted, we a whole generation apart. You know what I mean? Like,
but you still born in the 80s, so you was still a teen. Like, you still was there.
I was, like, what happened was, you know, I remember.
This is before gentrification, before the Starbucks.
Oh, absolutely.
No.
Check it. I mean, like, Ready to Die is about my neighborhood. You know what I mean? So you had the album come out that 2-3 million people bought in 94, 95 about my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
That's wild to think about. Like, when you put it that way, that's wild to think a dude from around the corner becomes the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Looked at as the GOAT, looked at as the greatest, rightfully so. You know what I mean? So, so it was before the changes and all that. And, you know, I remember just seeing this big dude shooting dice and blowing the L and just normal stuff, you know, and he was just do it up the block. Oh, yeah, you know, Chris up the block, whatever. But we was kids. We was 10 and he was like 20. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it was a whole different thing. And then next thing you know, they're shooting a video on the block. They're shooting Juicy. And we like, yo, what's going on? And then the record's on the radio. And then another record's on the radio. And then the whole neighborhood is covered in bad boy posters. And, you know, and it's just turning into this thing. And then before you know it, everyone's talking about Biggie. And it's like, yeah, from up the block. So it was a pride of like, yeah, that's us. You know what I mean? Even though I was a kid and I never had, like, people always ask when they know the story, they're like, yo, you ever kicked it with Biggie and had a relationship with him? I'm like, I was like 11, you know what I'm saying? Like
Biggie had no reason to hang with me.
No way in the world a 21-year-old is hanging out with an 11, 12-year-old kid. It's not happening. You know what I'm saying? Unless that's his little brother. It's not happening. But we was the little kids running back and forth up and down the block, playing ball, play fighting, slap boxing, whatever, when they was on the corner blowing the L, shooting dice, looking at us like, yo, look at these little badass kids. That was us. You know what I'm saying? So, and one of them little badass kids turned into who I am today.
With the, and you mentioned, so you Brooklyn, Biggie. When you said Jamaica, Southside Jamaica, Queens, of course, the first thing I think of from my era is G-Unit. So growing up, since you grew up kind of like saying, I think you guys are probably in the same age range, aren't you?
Yeah, with the same age group. Yeah,
so you kind of see that. You see it kind of bubble face first, like kind of me saying, looking at it first thing.
Yeah, because I had, you know, being in Southside and you know, living in Southside throughout high school and all that, I had peoples that was cool with them. You know what I mean? Like, that was cool with the unit, you know, from 134 and all that. A lot of my peoples that's still my mans to this day was in that and was a part of that, you know, 134 All-Stars and all the Southside Jamaica Queen stuff that if you're from there, you know what it is. So, you know, I was there seeing all that as well. I did a bunch of shows with the unit, like opening up and all that stuff back in, like, you know, when I was, 18, 19, you know.
How does 50 not try to scoop you up? You're from the neighborhood. That's kind of surprising. Why how you would think he wouldn't want to let you get away?
Right. Well, I didn't know Fifth back then. I knew people who was in that circle, but, you know, young, running around trying to do the thing. Years later, in 2010, when me and Illmind dropped Live from the Tape Deck, 50 called me through my man. One of my mans worked for the unit, my man Halim. He called me and was like, yo, Sky, hold up, Fifth want to talk to you. And I was like, wait, what? Just out of the blue. And me and Fifth got on the phone for like an hour. He was talking about Speakers on Blast. He was like, yo, this record is amazing, bro, boom, boom. And we was building on some things. I think he was out of town for a while doing some movie stuff. But we had talked about trying to get up, whatever. And then we finally met, maybe like a year or two later or something like that. We finally met at the G-Unit offices and we kicked it for a while. Whatever's meant to be is going to be. You know, I think at that time he was already kind of transitioning out of music. But he had called when we got on the phone about Speakers on Blast, and he was just giving me a bunch of pointers and a bunch of ideas, and he loved the record. He was like, yo, this record's a smash. Like, this record's out of control. And we was just building on that. And I literally had someone on the phone for like an hour just soaking up game, you know what I mean? And it was dope. So there's all these little sprinkles and little things that's